Hi there, welcome to week 12. This week you are reading about qualitative data analysis. And once again, the textbook I think is very clear and very good at outlining these different ways you can analyze qualitative data. It talks about looking for patterns, identifying themes and patterns and frequencies in the literature. It talks about different types of analyses that you might encounter. Discusses grounded theory method. In greater detail, it talks to you about coding and how to do coding with qualitative data. Memoing, concept mapping. Talks a little bit about computer programs, which some of you may have heard of. Nudist and NVivo are two that I'm aware of that analyze qualitative data. And your book discusses those and even shows you some of what the outputs look like. So that can be very helpful. I also posted in the Research Cafe. Not everybody, a lot of you have already finished all of your Research Cafes, so you don't need to be posting anything anymore. A lot of you still need to do quite a few Research Cafes, and some of you are almost done. Regardless of your status in terms of completion of Research Cafes this week, I encourage you to go there and read the article that I posted there, because it is an article written about all the different the most popular methods for analyzing qualitative data, and it gives a little explanation of what those are and how they've been used in the literature. And then it focuses specifically on how that information can be used by school psychologists, but it is certainly applicable to a lot of the fields that we would be working in our field. So I encourage you, even if you're not going to post this week, to please go read that article in the Research Cafe. I think it will help with your understanding of qualitative data analysis. Qualitative data analysis, as you know from many of your readings, is a way to get much richer information, to go a little deeper into the phenomena that you're trying to study. When I was in graduate school, there were some people who qualitative data analysis appealed to them because it wasn't numbers. They felt like it gave the respondents more uniqueness, more individuality, I guess you could say. A lot of it depends on your philosophy of science as to whether you prefer quantitative or qualitative. A lot of it depends on the question that you're asking or the theoretical perspective from which you're coming. But qualitative data analysis can be very, very useful for exploratory research, finding out about something that not a lot of people have studied yet. It can be really great for helping understand the meanings that people assign to things. Uncovering those deeper meanings in a way that a quantitative survey would just not be able to get to. So I think of, and this is just sorry, I have cough drops, I've got this sore throat, this weather. Those of you who are not in Texas, be glad, because this weather is crazy. It's 30, it's 80. Today's going to be 90 degrees. It's April 9th, and it was 30 degrees 2 nights ago. It's just crazy. But enough about my problems. Okay. Excuse my cough drop. Qualitative analysis is a way to sort of go much deeper. If you can imagine, here's this T, and quantitative can get you a lot of information here. It goes broad, and you can really apply that, and if you have an adequate sample, really generalize that information to others. Whereas qualitative is much more deep. It's not as broad because its focus is to be deep. Usually have much smaller sample sizes because the intent is oftentimes not to generalize, but to gain a better understanding of a phenomena. Sometimes the results of qualitative inquiry inform later quantitative studies. Sometimes the results of quantitative studies inform qualitative because we realize we need to know more about this issue. Let's do something qualitative to find out. So you can sort of keep that in your mind, that perspective, that the quantitative, a lot of you in your qualitative critiques talked about generalizability. And it's a valid critique because certainly you can't do it. And a novice at Research Methods might read something qualitative and think that it could be generalized to everyone. And that's not the case. It's not usually the intent of qualitative research to generalize to a broader population. Not usually. They usually want to understand the deeper meaning for this group of people or artifact or whatever they're studying. So keep that in mind as you're reading about these different analytic techniques. I think they will make more sense to you and be easier for you to grasp if you understand that the purpose is to get deeper meaning, to get rich data, to really dig deep into something. And I think that will help you. I think for many of you that this chapter will be a much easier read than the next week's readings on quantitative. But maybe not. It might depend a lot on your own perspective. Some people more intuitively go to qualitative versus quantitative. Just everybody has their own thing. We need all kinds of people who have all kinds of interests. So some people will find reading this chapter a lot easier to understand than others, and same for next week. And if you're having trouble understanding one or the other of these chapters, it's probably informing you a little bit about where you lean. So you can be thinking about that. Wow, gosh, that qualitative art chapter was difficult for me to get through, but this quantitative is making sense to me. Well, you might find that you're intuitively more drawn to quantitative types of research, and that's an important thing to note. And the opposite will be true for others. Okay. You are also supposed to read 2 chapters in the Pan text. And we have a quiz today, and it's probably going to feel like a pretty easy week for you compared to the last few. This week you just have the readings and the research cafe and the quiz. So hopefully it's feeling a little bit more back to normal for a lot of you. Next week we will be talking about quantitative data analysis. Okay, that's all I have for you today in this intro. If you have any questions, as always, please go to the boards, put them up there, send me an email, give me a call, whatever. And enjoy the week. Qualitative data analysis is a very useful and interesting methodology, and many of you want to do qualitative research for your proposals, so I really encourage you to dig in there and really get to understand it. For those of you who want to do quantitative, please still read it. It's still important that you know how to do both. So, all right. It was great seeing you today, and have a good week.